Okay. The volume. I was adjusting the level of volume. First of all, now I'm speaking English, and that's not a tutorial for English learners. This is just to say something about learning a foreign language that isn't stressed enough. The fact that in my experience, both as a learner and as a teacher, is that the fastest way to learn a language is not necessarily the most effective. What do I mean by that? It's like wallpaper. I can what is the right word? I don't know. Put it on the wall. You see, when you don't find the exact word, you use common words. You glue it. The problem is not, okay, it stays in place. How long? So maybe with a different approach, there is a different method that can take longer, but it stays there forever. These are very simple notions, because you ought to know that there are two kind of memories. Okay? There's a short-term memory and a long-term memory. People oftentimes rely on short-term memory. So they get out of the lesson, they watch something, and they think they know. No, it doesn't work like that. Our memory, our brains like a seal. What do I mean by that? It means that, and I'm getting out on a limb here, that's my understanding. Our memory is like a sieve, because if we memorized automatically everything, we would be encumbered by a huge amount of data that are useless. That's why we don't remember what we ate every day, what we've been eating lately, because it's just useless. We just remember if we were eating something at the same time, something like September 11th, I was eating chicken. I remember I was eating chicken. But we think, if we tell ourselves this is important, it sticks. No, it doesn't stick. Stick like wallpaper. It means that it automatically get deleted, erased by our, like a computer. So what's the point? The point is repeated exposure, and it means also forgetting, relearning, forgetting, relearning, forgetting, relearning, until we don't forget anymore. We think we forgot. We haven't forgotten everything, but it just isn't accessible. Every time we are exposed in a, I would say, the more is close to real situation, the more we learn it. So we should be exposed to a level of language that is a little bit more difficult than what we know. It's like when we run or when we train, okay? The extra effort makes us stronger or faster. So, watch or read something that is interesting to you, and that is not useless. Sometimes we get like, oh, I know everything, I understood everything. Yeah, so you didn't learn anything. Sound counterintuitive, but it's like this. Many tutorials that I see are more focused on the teacher that, for example, is an English speaker who knows Italian and teaches Italian to Italians. And I always say something. An English speaker who is on a par with an Italian speaker, it means it is nearly a native speaker, is a better teacher than an Italian. Not because he uses English, but he knows the differences. He's been through that. He skips using, that's the idea, he skips the English part, but he knows what's relevant, what's difficult, and what's different. So he stresses what is different. But many times people think they know the language. I think I know English, but I'm sure that living in Italy and speaking Italian the whole time, my English is not like somebody who lives in an English-speaking country. Despite of the fact that I learned English as a child, but then I'm exposed to English. Otherwise, I would have forgotten the language. But I don't have this kind of fluency, of that, the felicity, the right word at the right moment, the right idiom. It's little things. But anyway, I see many people that are blatantly wrong in their pronunciation. So skip, avoid people who are not on a very high level. Okay, you need a template that is believable. So first things first, somebody who's speaking the language you're learning on a nearly native speaker level, on a level that I would say nearly like me, people who live abroad, or I'm learning Greek. I know people who speak perfect Greek, but they learn Greek in Italy because their family is Greek. They can teach basic Greek up to a certain level. Then obviously, if you live in Athens and you speak Greek the whole day and you watch everything in Greek, you have more knowledge of the language. But these people maybe have a very good accent. I mean, you cannot tell the difference if you are not a native speaker and you speak with them like 15-20 minutes, and you can, but little things. But other than that, they are good. But people who make mistakes in basic sounds, grammar mistakes, are not people who should teach. So try to have at least somebody who is a native speaker tells you, okay, this person has a slight foreign accent, but it's okay. Doesn't make mistakes. It sounds like a native speaker who has been living abroad, who lived abroad for a long time, but he speaks well. So let's check with a native speaker, if you can. Other things. The person who teaches, I would say, who exposes to a language that you can absorb, because I'm not all for the traditional way of teaching. So some people think, but say, you're not teaching. Well, I'm teaching in a different way. I mean, you don't understand, but I choose what vocabulary you should be exposed to, what forms, how I can put in another way without using your language that can make you understand in an intuitive way. So you don't understand, but it's like a pre-digested language according to your level, okay? So don't go straight for the high level, you know? It's like getting off at the deep end. You can drown. That's my point. So, reading newspapers, watching movies, novels, of poetry is even worse, in English. I'm speaking English, but that works more in English because English is a very rich language, but that works for every language. For the most time, it's too much. Okay? I would say, if you can't find material, there are readers in English, it's that books that are graded according to the level, and there is a CD. Now I don't know if there are still CDs or you download online, and that's a good thing. Be exposed to spoken language. Don't start from written language. Spoken language. Slowly, but not in an artificial way. I can speak very slowly, but the flux of the language should be uninterrupted. So I can say, oh, this is my book. This is my book. Now, and this book is in my hands. Now it's not in my hands. Now it's in my hands. But I don't say, this is my book. It is in my hands. Language doesn't allow void. Unless, you know, is, well, I'm thinking, it happens, but not in that, in this, you know, bumpy way. So, be exposed to the language you're learning. Don't be exposed to long-winded explanations of the rule in the language you already know. That's why people hate Latin and ancient Greek. They don't feel like it's a spoken language. Well, it's not spoken anymore, or at least it changed so much that we call it Italian, French, Spanish, Portuguese, Romanian, or for Greek, okay, they didn't change the name, it's always Greek. But it's called, well, modern Greek. By opposition, there is the ancient Greek. But anyway, my point is that speaking about Latin and Greek, that this is a very tiresome, boring, unnatural way of learning the language. The closer you are to the way you actually learned your first language. What is the difference? The difference, I don't know, because I don't remember. I don't have children, and I haven't seen the way they learned. I'm sure in many ways similar. I say, but I already know another language, yes. But anyway, the process is intuition, repetition, making mistakes. You're allowed to make mistakes. Your teacher is not allowed to make mistakes, but you are. See, why should I make mistakes? First of all, it's normal, it's natural. Even when you learn your first language, you made mistakes. There are still people who speak their native language that make mistakes. And incidentally, it's through mistakes the languages change. Okay? There are some mistakes, there are the tendency of the new language. So, you're allowed to make mistakes. The important thing is that your mistakes are going to be corrected. They will be corrected. So, you learn. Otherwise, a mistake gets ingrained in yourself and you think it's alright because you don't know. So, you develop a sense of the language. It's perfectly natural. But it's not the way other people speak. Okay, that's why I strongly recommend when you speak with somebody and you're really interested in learning a language and you don't make a lot of mistakes, otherwise he would be interrupting you the whole time, say, correct me. Or, that's what I do during the lesson. I let the person speak if it's a fluency exercise, and I take notes, and at the end I tell him that's wrong, and then tell him why. What do you think? And if he can't understand, I give him sentences so he can infer the meaning. Intuition, inferring, context, visuals. What's audios? No, I don't know how. Audio part. Whistle. You listen to the sound and you match the word. Okay? So you see all the animal sounds. Don't explain in your language and then translate. Don't know. What's the other one? The word ni. Sorry, sometimes I have blanks. I know I shouldn't use a dictionary, but now I forgot in Italian. Yeah, sorry. Perfection is not this word. So this has two words in English. Oh yeah. What is Winnie. So when I say Winnie, rather than explaining, there is a slight difference between Nay and Winnie. I think Nay is more and Winnie is but I don't know. The other one, yeah, now I have with the yeah, Bray. You see why I never use these words. I mean, what Winnie sometimes Bray. What's the point? Okay, that's a controversial thing in my mind. Should we learn words that we rarely use? Or should we learn words that we bump into? Well, if you want to be perfect, you should know this word, but if you want to learn this word just by hazard, it would be rare. I cannot come up with it. I have to think about it. because there are pro and cons about learning words, but that comes to the point that at the beginning you should avoid learning words that are not basic words, unless are basic for you for some reason. For example, I play the ukulele, so knowing fret, nut, soundboard, uh, uh, top, back and side, neck, uh, tuning up, tuners, all these things are basic for me. Also, as a guitar player, sound hole. Did I say that? What is other? Uh, bridge. Fretboard. But generally speaking, no, you shouldn't learn these words at the beginning. Some people learn a lot of words that are not important. Another thing, and I'm going to wind up this speech, is that you should balance the different things that make up speaking and learning language. That means passive knowledge, being able to understand words in real time. That's why you should know basic words like it's your native language. Okay, for example, you learn Italian, bottiglia. You shouldn't even think. You watch this object so many times, you listen to the sound so many times, that when you hear bottiglia, you can't help but think about this. I don't say bottle, because you don't translate. You think about this. You don't think the English word. You know exactly what a bottiglia is. If I think, sto arrivando, you should understand. If you have to think about it, forget about it. If you have to think, you have to process something, you are lost, my friends. You are damn lost. Basic language should be familiar to you, like your native language. But it's not my language. Yes, you don't know many other things, but these things you should be able to understand, even if you are half asleep. And that happens to me. There's something Greek. If it is news, documentaries, whatever, I understand, even half asleep. There is some other language like anecdotes or some other things I don't understand, really. But normal language, I mean, normal is not something that sometimes you use very, like when you speak English and you mumble, you don't really pronounce all the sounds. In some situation, we speak like this in every language, and that's something that if you're not really awake, you don't understand. Even if you're awake, you don't understand. But I would say interviews, people speaking like somebody's listening, documentaries, news, you should be able to understand these things even if you're half asleep. In time, at the beginning of, instead of understanding this, you can understand, I know, fairy tales for children. Well, sometimes there are words you don't know, but anyway, very simple language. And what is the other word? I forgot. When I forget in every language I know, it's damn. Okay, I remember in Italian. It's not merry-go-round. It's not a fairy tale. It's nursery rhyme. Nursery rhyme are good when you learn. Yes, it's actually like you really tracing back what you've been doing when you were a child. Okay, so, but my main point is don't watch videos by people who think they know the language, but they don't know the language they're teaching. Speak the whole time the language you already know. Explain things like it's a conscious, rational thing. It's better to develop our ability to infer, our intuition. Okay, goodbye. It's a long-winded video, but I said that several times, but in Latin say repetita juvent. Repeating things helps. And what I said, that's another way of learning. Listening several times until becomes second nature. I use that also with the ukulele course and guitar course. And I haven't spent a lot of time on this is chord shape and I'm playing. No, I usually learn the chord shape, the chord shape inside a song. But that's another kettle of fish. Goodbye.